Hello, everybody. It's Jen Harrison here, your guest coach here with Big Life Journal. Whilst I'm just waiting for you all to hop on live, if you are catching this on replay, I just want to say hi. Hope you're doing well today, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are in this world. And I really just felt like inviting you at the beginning of today's session to just really take some nice deep breaths and take a moment to relax. I really just had this feeling just to come on today at the beginning of this session and just say, like, I don't know what time of day it is where you are. I'm in the UK currently, so it's 6 p.m. where I am. And I just invite you, if you're planning to stay here with me for the next 20 minutes or so, to just relax your shoulders, to just take a couple of nice deep breaths. And, you know, we're here to connect, we're here to learn, we're here to have discussions, but we're also here to feel good and relax and have a bit of fun as well along the way. So whether you're on a break throughout your workday, whether or not you're just quite early in your day or evening like myself, I just invite you to just take a couple of really nice slow deep breaths and just drop your shoulders and just take a bit of time out for yourself. I'm going to be discussing here with you the topic of how to help children understand other children's feelings. And we call this empathy. And I've got a few things that I want to share with you on this. So, ways that I mainly see this being really apparent for parents is when we want to help our children be kinder to other kids. And I was saying yesterday to another group of parents that from watching human behaviour, I've come to find that most people have this innate ability, like this innate capability as well, to want to be kind, to want to think about other people. But here's the thing, it's really tricky to be able to do that when you're in a place where you're feeling pretty burnt out, where your self-esteem is very low, and where you're feeling highly anxious yourself. So I asked the parents that I spoke to yesterday to just consider that if your child currently has high anxiety, if their self-esteem is quite low, if their what I call emotional bucket isn't filled right now, they're going to find it really difficult to be able to empathise with other children. Because I've come to find that we just don't have, as human beings, the emotional capacity to be able to even think about somebody else. We don't always have the headspace or the emotional capacity to think about how somebody else might be feeling if we're just drained out ourselves. Like, you know, that might be you today. And if it isn't you today, think back to a time that likely wasn't that long ago, because we all go through trials and, you know, challenges in life. Think back to a time where you were feeling emotionally and mentally and physically stretched. Like, how capable were you in those times to be able to think about other people, to be able to really even empathise with your own children? You know, even for parents, like, take the pressure off yourself and recognize that, like, when you just have nothing to give, you have nothing to give. And that's why it's so super important that we always self-care first. I'm a big advocate, and I try my best to remember in my own life as well, to fill our own buckets up first. Take the time out so that we're doing something that's filling ourselves up emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, you know, the whole holistic picture, so that we actually have something to give to other people. So that's the first thing. Like, if your kids are highly anxious at the moment and they're just going through some tough things themselves, I invite you to cut them a bit of slack when it comes to how able are they right now to be kind to other people. And this brings me on to the second point. The other thing that many parents struggle with, and many children struggle with in today's world, is this thing of bullying at school. This thing of, like, other children are saying unkind things to my child. My child's coming home saying that they're being bullied, or even when they have friends, even in friendship groups, like, friends are being unkind to other friends. You know, one day they might be your best friend, and the next day they might be, you know, leaving you out. And I see many children go through this experience. And I just wanted to share with you that we can't control how other people feel and other people's actions. But on the topic of empathy, what would be really great is if you could help coach your child to recognise that when the other person who's bullying, I don't really like that word, I feel like it's got a lot of emotional connotations, but the other child who's being unkind to your child, let's say, to recognise that your power comes from coaching your child to really see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, how is that other person feeling when they're speaking to me in that tone? How is that other child feeling when they're speaking to my child and they're being unkind to them? That's where the power lies. We can't control how other people act and feel. So we can't go in and control the other children. And, you know, obviously you can go and speak to the school teachers and have those conversations to help those situations. And also, we just can't control other people. So when we look at the things that we can control, that's where our empowerment and confidence comes from. And that's how we empower children as well. So we can say to children, like, you know, if your child came home and he said, like, you know, Harry was being really mean to me today. The empowering way to empower your child and to use this as a learning opportunity as well would be to say to your child, something like, I really, you know, that must be really tough. I really hear what you're saying. And I wonder how he was feeling. This is where the empathy comes in. I wonder how he was feeling when he was speaking to you in that way. Did you notice anything about his tone? What did you notice about his face? Now, what this is doing is helping your child come out of this feeling of, it's all about me. I'm the problem. I'm the reason why this other child is treating me that way. That's the victimhood mentality. What this does is it empowers your child to see what's really going on. And this is what's really going on, by the way. It's never when somebody else, even when somebody's directly speaking to us in an unkind way, it's never about us. Because when somebody is in a good place themselves, they just don't act that way. So it's always a reflection of how the other person is feeling. And this is a massive teaching opportunity to have with children, whether you're a parent or a grandparent or a teacher yourself. This is huge, to be able to empower children and say, that's really tough. And so this is like showing empathy to the children, isn't it? You know, that's really tough. I really remember, you know, times when something like that happened to me. And I also want to help you see what's really going on. And this is what's really going on, that your friend isn't feeling good themselves. And to coach your child through, like, you know, looking at focusing in on how the other person's feeling to help your child feel empowered that it isn't about them. Hey, Kim. Usually children sense that the adult is struggling. Oh, cool. Glad to hear that worked for your grandson, whatever it was that you did with him. Super. Hi, Hilary. So this is all about looking at everyday situations that happen with adults and children, which is one of the main things that happens for adults and children. We're always going to come up against other people that say unkind things about us. And so to help your children look at, well, how was he feeling though when he said that? Actually, he looked quite angry when he was talking to me in that way. Did he look happy? No, he didn't look happy. And then you can have the conversation of, do you know, when somebody's angry, they're actually afraid? If there's anything you take from this session. When I learned that was like a light bulb moment. When somebody is angry, they're simply afraid. And that also diffuses the situation for children, because the moment that your child starts to understand that, oh my gosh, my friend's speaking to me and he's angry, but he's afraid. He doesn't look afraid, but the more that you can teach your child that that's what anger is, the more that your child starts to understand how his friend is feeling. And so empathy isn't just, a parent said yesterday, she was afraid about her children, how to teach her children to be kind without kind of being like, a pushover basically. And empathy isn't just about how can we empathize so that we can help other people feel good and help them, be kind to them. That's definitely one aspect. But empathy also is if I can understand how somebody else is feeling and therefore how they're treating me, I can then be in a much more empowered place and less fearful myself, so that I can stop reacting to that person from a place of fear myself. And if I can start to look at, when Harry's being really unkind, my mum told me that when people are unkind, it means that they're not feeling good. That's when your child really gains power and they start to be like, so this actually isn't about me. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good that he's speaking to me that way. But the more that you start to drop those seeds, I was saying last week about planting the seeds, the more that you plant the seeds through these daily conversations, these daily teaching opportunities, the more that your child starts to listen and starts to and for some people, adults, children, these lessons need to be a daily occurrence. Like, it's not like, oh, I'll just teach them once and like, bingo, now they're going to know this. This could take weeks, months, even years with some people. But if we care about somebody else's happiness, we are motivated to just want to keep dripping, like drip, drip, planting the seed. And, learning opportunities sometimes often don't happen overnight. Oh, fabulous. Hilary has got her daughter the journal for her birthday. Oh, bless her. She's 7. Hope she has fun with that. Hope you enjoy it as well. Hi, Pat. I learned more about empathy and how child's trauma created broken adults. Yeah. So I bought your books for my 6 and 11-year-old nieces. Fantastic. Yeah, everything that happened, everything that we heard, experienced, felt, saw in our childhood definitely wires our brain and basically forms who we are as an adult. So this is why this work is so important. This is why I just like have a natural passion for teaching this stuff, because I see the bigger picture. I just have this ability to be able to like look at the bigger picture and be like, your son's 4, but everything that you teach him now is going to impact him when he's 24 and 44, because everything that we experience now ultimately is like, it's what forms us when we're an adult. All of our belief system and our mindset that we have now is structured and wired from when we were children. So how about if we can get this, I want to say get this right, but it's not about getting it right. It's just like, if we can take the opportunity to learn some stuff and, drip feed into bits into children's lives, we set them up for such a better chance at flourishing in adulthood. Because for some of us, like myself, we learned this kind of stuff when we were adults, and you might be at the beginning of your journey of learning some of this stuff now. But I always think how amazing if there's children in this world that get the opportunity to learn this when they're 5 or learn this when they're 10, not when they're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 or 70. It's like, that's gold. Like, if children can become empowered while they're children. So does anybody have any other questions for me on this topic, or anything that's on your mind similar to, how to help children better feel more confident in friendships, or deal with something that might be going on at school, or anything to do with the subject of empathy. I'm going to be here up until Friday, so I'm here Tuesday to Friday every week. Big Life Journal have a different theme every week. I tend to focus on it on a Tuesday, and then for the remainder of the week I tend to either answer your questions that you send through to us. So by the way, if you have any questions, do feel free to send them directly through on the message on Instagram, and I get them sent to me, and then I come on and answer them for you. But I feel like this is a great theme this week, so I'll possibly continue the conversation tomorrow as well. Okay. And the final thing that I wanted to say today was, do you know, where do we build our empathy? Where do we get the ability? Firstly, what is empathy? Let's get clear on what empathy is. Empathy is empathy is different to sympathy. Empathy is when I have got the ability to be able to put myself almost like in your shoes and have a deep awareness and understanding of what it is that you're going through. So empathy is when I'm so aware of my own emotions, which is why I say this is about helping children understand their own feelings first, so that they can have an awareness even of what other children might be feeling. So empathy is like, I've had some experiences, I've felt some things, I've learnt some things, and now when you come along and you tell me that you're going through that situation, I can empathise. So I'll give you an example. A few days ago, a mum messaged me and she'd seen one of my videos, and if you want to follow me personally on Instagram, you can find me over at Supporting Sensitive Children. That's Supporting Sensitive Children on Instagram. And she sent me a message, and she'd seen one of my videos talking about experiences that I had had in my life several years ago. And she messaged me and said, like, wow, that post really stood out to me because I'm going through that experience right now. And so because I'd been through that difficult time, I could empathise. I read her message and I was like, I really get this. I really get how you're feeling. For me, that experience was a while ago, so it's not like I directly feel the emotion of it. But when somebody comes along and says to me, like, that thing you went through, I'm going through it now, and I can empathise. I can be like, yeah, I really get that could be difficult because I've been there. So the final thing I want to share with you is, like, how about we just allow children to go through struggles as well? Because I feel like we live in this world where we almost are being sold, in my opinion, this philosophy of, like, life is supposed to be perfect, right? Like, life is supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be easy. We should be getting everything right. And how about if that's not the case? How about actually, like, if it's through our mistakes and our challenges that's where our strength and our resilience and our learning and our ability to empathise, how about if that's where it comes from? Because how am I supposed to empathise with you if I've never been through anything tricky? If I've lived under a rock, if I've had no experiences that have ever pushed me or challenged me, if you come along and say, Jen, I'm going through this really tough situation, can you help me? How am I supposed to empathise with you if I've never been through anything that's challenging? And so this is exactly the same for children. Like, children aren't just going to get their struggles when they're 20 and so forth. How about if the things that your child is struggling with right now are the very things that are setting them up to build strength, to build resilience, to build their confidence almost, and to build their ability to empathise? Because if we can coach a child through a difficult situation, bring them out the other end, whilst teaching them and loving them, then when they come out the other end, they are strengthened, like we all are when we've been through difficult times. as long as we learn from it and grow through it, we come out stronger. The only issue when we're going through challenges is when we stay stuck in the pit of it and then we just, spiral down. So as long as we're teaching children and we're coaching them along the way, we're showing them how strong they are, they're building their resilience. Like, how about if that's where their empathy comes from? Because children, we can't just teach children to just be kind or, just teach them how to empathise. They need to go through difficult situations themselves. They need to understand their feelings and other people's feelings so that when their friend, like, for example, if their friend falls over in the playground, and, if your daughter fell over in the playground a few weeks ago and then sees her friend fall over, she's likely going to be like, I remember when I fell over a few weeks ago and it really hurt and grazed my knees. She's going to have more of an empathy, of an understanding, and then she's likely going to want to connect with her friend possibly more on that because she knows how that feels. So, yeah, that was the final thing I wanted to share. Like, let's perhaps not be so quick to protect children from going through difficulties as well. And let's not fall into this trap of feeling like children are supposed to have this perfect life. Because as long as we're teaching them, we're learning how to teach them, coach them, love them through their difficulties and challenges, it's really okay if they go through challenges. That's why we're here, to learn and grow. So, children get to make mistakes, they get to trip up, they get to, even physically trip up and fall over or, emotionally or mentally. That's where they build the resilience. But they only get to build the resilience when we learn some tools so that we, as a parent, teacher, grandparent, so that we're empowered, so that we don't fall into the trap of, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed because this child in front of me is melting down, angry, going through a challenge, and I want to just rectify this quickly because I'm overwhelmed, quite understandably, because I don't have the ability right now because I haven't learned about how to, help a child emotionally with these things. And, on the topic of empathy, I really get that from a place of myself in my own life. When I didn't know the stuff that I know today, I felt like a lost sheep, quite frankly. I just felt like any challenges that I went through, I just felt blind and lost through them all of the time. And everything felt really overwhelming. So I can now empathise with people that would be feeling that way. And I can tell you that when you learn some new stuff, take any resources that are in your field right now, learn some stuff and empower yourself and put it into action. That is where our power comes from. It's not about avoiding challenges. It's about facing them head on, learning how to... in the instance of a child, learning how to coach them and help them through some stuff, and then helping them build resilience from that place. And if you're just joining live, we're talking about how to help children build empathy. So you're going to want to go and watch this replay, which will be up for the next 24 hours. Because I really have gone through a few things here to help you understand what children really need, what they really need so that they can really build the ability to empathise. And also my intention today was to help you understand that it's okay if you're going through challenges. It's okay if your children are coming home and they're going through challenges as well. I just wanted to share the message that this is not, I feel like we're not here on this earth to live a perfectly calm, happy life all of the time. We're here to learn and grow. We're all going to go through difficulties, but there's a difference between going through a difficulty and suffering because you don't have the knowledge yet to be able to coach your child through their challenges. There's a difference between that, which leaves us disempowered, and the place where you're empowered because you're like, this is tough, my child's going through something here, but I actually have some tools under my belt and I'm going to help them and coach them through it. Two very different places. So yeah, so that's been I've loved talking about this topic today. Definitely watch this back on the replay. Let me know in the comment section whether you watch this on replay or whether you're here live, what your biggest takeaway was from this. I invite you to reflect back and think, what was that one thing that Jen said that stood out to me? What was the thing that perhaps I was like for me today that I personally needed to hear? Yeah, and if you're just joining live, this will be up on replay for the next 24 hours, all about how to help children better empathise and understand other children's feelings. Hey Lucy, hope you're doing well. That was your takeaway, anger equals fear. That for me is like, when I learned that, that was a massive aha moment. Yeah. Okay, guys, so as I say, if you want to follow me directly or need any further help, you can find me at Supporting Sensitive Children on Instagram, and my website is www.sensitivechild.co.uk, and I will be back, same as always, tomorrow, and I'm here all the way through till Friday. And have a great day or evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Bye, Jane.